take some time for yourself. Again, a luxurious body. In this time, open space, but really dropping in. We're going to start on the floor to do some sensational work. Take your time arriving. Low tone is really finding gravity and finding the molecules that are very dynamic, three-dimensional, weighted flow, low harmonic, balanced by the higher tone of reach, skin of your bones, breathing. And then in between those high-low tones, the whole spectrum of your own rhythmic arrival. Thursday. If you need to feel that low tone, you might move a little slower, engaging with the ground. If you want to feel a little more spacious, reaching. Also in between, you can unconcentrate, jiggle, shake it out. It's a few minutes, we're going to land on the ground. Let in the light. You know, you're resting on your shadow. Wherever you are in contact with the ground is kind of like your shadow. Right? And it's a movable absence of light. Place of touch. Take your time and just a few more minutes and we'll arrive in the same ground. So. So coming into the ground, and Carolyn Carolyn, who's the intern, the worker bee for movement research, is going to be taking some photographs, and I don't know if she wants to say something about that.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I wrote this in the chat, but I just wanted to let you all know that I'll be taking some photos, which will be in the form of a screenshot. So if you don't want to be pictured in them, then just let me know, or you can turn your camera off. I'll be taking them in about 20 minutes. And these are mostly for archival purposes, so just so that you're all aware. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Carolyn. And if your internet isn't working, that's okay. That's one of the things we're really learning, is how to deal with the internet's untrustworthiness. And if you have to leave early, please do. But if you can really stay, stay. So let's come on down. Take a moment coming into the floor to rest on the ground for a few breaths. We're gonna come into some other forms, but I really want to start with some sensation. So you can dissolve to the ground, getting close to the floor, and helicopters going overhead. So yeah, what are your sounds in your environment? So just take a moment to breathe them in as actual visible parts of your distal, far away, and proximal, closer to your center, environment. And the idea of breathing in the sounds, we listen through our ears, but as well, we are really listening through our skin. And our ears don't live in little screens or rooms. There's the beautiful inner ear, a place of our vestibular system, where we balance, lose our balance. Mabel Todd says that we have evolved pretty much because as a species we are unstable. And it's through playing with balance that we continue to evolve. We would stop evolving if we tried to hold on to our stability, which we need, but it feeds our mobility. So if you need to move, get a little mobile, move something, or just find what is moving you, right? That partnering with your breath, and maybe there's a place that's a little more contained from other movement practices or yesterday, or you're ready. And you can close the eyes so that you can also see through your breathing. And if you need the eyes open, always know you can open them. Doesn't mean we're closing to the world, we're opening to it through another perception, which I think contact improvisation is really a pathway back to these earlier perceptual modes, where we navigated and located ourselves through touch and movement. And if you need to move or undulate or go underground streams, way underneath the floor. And then if you can come to a place of rest, a lot of this work, I think I mentioned it the other day, release technique, before it was called somatics. Maybe it's not the same thing, but in my practices, the idea of releasing into a deeper activity was a lot of what the work was helping us to find, and helps us to find still. So we release into a more deeper active source. And it comes from falling into the support. And feeling your breath and your heartbeat if it's visible through your sensation of movement. And I'm just going to read this thing about the nervous system that I found this morning. And you can listen and let it drop over you or around you. Our brain contains 13 billion interconnected nerve cells, capable of making more connections among themselves than the number of stars in the sky. Our brains are instruments of awareness and are virtually limitless. Yet there are 100 million sensory receptors within the body and 10 trillion synapses in the nervous system, making the mind 10,000 more sensitive to its internal environment than to its external one. So it is truly from within that we receive and assimilate most of our knowledge. We assess a dimension that has no locality and time and space. So we're drifting into that place, which could be called the ocean, it could be called the sky, much, much higher than our atmosphere. But it's a quality of listening and being with what is leading you from within. Memory, idea, future. So we're just going to take a few more breaths and just see how that translates to you. If you need to move in another way. The synapses are kind of what jump the gap between sensory and motor. This is very simplistic, but there, you know, that place called the gap that we look for when we're kind of in a moment of being in between decisions, transition, moving, not knowing who's leading, who's following. It's that spark of space between taking in and action. Maybe it's a feeling space. So if you could put your feet on the floor with your knees up, you'll be on your back. So that we still have a relationship to that we are standing in a certain way, but we're also very much in relationship to the underground, the surface of the ground, and also the air, the space. And let your knees go both to one side a little bit and then to the other side without lifting your feet. You don't have to move anything else yet. Your arms can be out to the side or along the side. And it's a very gentle swaying. One knee starts to fall, the other one follows. And you might start to feel that your head will start to follow. You might roll the head in the same direction the knees are falling, come back to center, go to the other side. So you're in a synchrony with the knees and head. And you might allow the feet to fall as your knees are falling. Go to the edge of the outer foot and the inner edge of the inner foot. And then come back to center, head follows. You might also, as you go to the edge of your foot, lift the shoulder blade of the arm that's behind your head, and that will allow you to kind of fall a little bit more to the side that you're rolling to, and then reverse that. So the knees can lead, feet will follow, the head will follow, the shoulder will go down, knees go to the other side, head can go to that side, and then maybe your shoulder comes up on the other side, so you're going to turn your back up. We worked at the back yesterday with the partner. And then your knees come up, they initiate, the head rolls back, come back to your back. And see if you can get this into a more fluid motion. So it's like everything comes together. So the knees, head, and the shoulder, you're rolling side to side, shifting the weight on your feet. You might roll a little bit more towards the nose, and then reversing that, rolling along the outer edge of the head, the bottom of the feet, the side of the feet, the inner arch. You might roll all the way to your forehead, and you can almost like look behind you, going almost to the upper ear. This is spiraling. So the knees have initiated, but now your head's going to start to roll a little bit more. And then you can come back, roll the head, the knees will come up. But you want to see if you can go roll all the way to you can't quite do it going to the other ear. And maybe the upper foot, the upper leg, wants to start to stretch out and lift the head. So you can almost see your foot behind you, the one in the air. And then replace your head, the knees come up. I'm extending the leg that's on the top, and I'm looking behind me. Maybe I can see the foot, bend the knee. It's a little perceptual play with twisting. And do that a couple of times, so you can even start to get up a little higher. Maybe both feet curl behind you, like you're a mermaid. You can move your toes. And then returning, coming back. Coming back is like big belly, and then going the other side. Your head wants to look behind you. Oh my God, the other side's really different. And then coming back. One more time on each side. So really, you might even use your hands underneath you to support your shape. You're getting up out of the ground. Wow! It's almost becoming like a crescent shape, a C shape. Then you come back to the back. Whoa! Sound is so good. And then you come back. I don't know, really leaning up, looking at my feet. And then come back to your back. Let the legs be long on the floor, and just rest the arms. The symmetry now for a moment. What is equal from the right and left side? Remember, as you're resting on your back, you might be a little bit more in touch with your skeletal mind. Which is, where's the clarity of where you're meeting the floor? Your heels, the back of your head, your sacrum, the space between your shoulder blades. Where are you not meeting the floor? The small of your back, your neck, under your knees, ankles, between your fingertips. Your feet are in the air, like your heels are on the ground. Leaning into the floor. Right? Is a great sound. It's vertical. The shape of is a long shape in your mouth. Let's do a long shape with our body. So arms come over your head, legs together on the floor. Reach your arms away from your legs away from the arms. Really feeling also center line, your spine. Your spine has that limb. And then release the left arm and leg. Keep the right arm and leg reaching away from each other. You're going to start to curve. Stay on your back. You're going to start to curve over to the left. You're opening up the space between your ribs and your pelvis on the right side. We looked at this a little yesterday. Little finger, little toe. Reaching away from each other. The left side is a very easy compression. Whoa, right? And your head might roll a little bit to the left. And then come back to center. Sliding back, sliding, rolling, pivoting. A couple of tools for partnering yourself. Wag your tail a little bit. See if you can find a little sound. Oh is a good sound for the pelvis. That's like earth sounds. Oh, ooh is water sounds. Oh and ooh, lower body. Oh. And let the rocking go up through the center of your pelvis. A little shakedown. Arms might want to open a little bit more. Widening. Going up through the lower back. Oh. As you come into the belly, ah, again is a great sound. Ah. Oh. You can change the tone, right? You might start to feel your lower ribs rocking. Hey, the back of your lungs are taking a little slide through your ribs on the floor, going through the ribs, the center of the ribs. The vertebrae gets smaller as we go higher, so the sound does get a little like chimes more than like deep bells. And start to rock up through the opening of your ribs into your neck, which is your spine. It gets really tinier. You're going to start to rock behind your jaw. Yeah. That's good. Yas are good for jaw release. Behind your mouth, your nose, between your ears, behind your eyes, behind your forehead, and out the top of your head, those 30 trillion, million, billion, bazillion stars in your skull, and let your rocking go behind you and disappear and rest in the vibration that's behind. Sometimes it's like the feeling after swimming, you know, you come out and you lay on the ground. You're still swimming. Or after, you know, looking at the stars, and then you drop in and you feel them in your body. And it's really open moment, this gap between your sensing and your motoring. The luxuriating we started with, and you luxuriate in this time of observation. And imagine that rocking or circling or spiraling is coming back towards your head. It's really a nice golden haze of energy, perhaps, or maybe you prefer another color. And you're going to start to open up the top of your head. You can start to rock your head, kind of jump-start it or imagine it. We're going to just travel back down through behind the forehead. There's a little bit of sifting, right? The heavier tones dropping and the higher harmonics up. You're resting on your shadow that you're shimmering on. As you go down towards the mouth, the jaw can really hang appendicular to your axial skeleton, throat. And as you go into your ribs and go into your arms, start to let your hands start to curl up. You're gonna make you're gonna compress a ball of air. So you're gonna spend a little time. I'm kind of like embracing the air. I'm creating a ball. My palms are facing down. So I can roll along my shoulder, between my shoulder blades. My head will take the ride. Really, it's like a nice massage. If you want to take it up a little higher, let the hands come up over your forehead, over your head, and reach a little bit longer behind you and keep the rocking. Open the jaw, open up the hands, and then start to shape that ball again, bringing the hands back over your face in this wheel, and then keep it rolling between your shoulder blades. And we're going to switch. The palms are facing down. We're going to switch that our palms are now facing out, so you can see the back of your hands. And we're going to roll a little bit more to the elbows. I'm going to move that a little bit out. Move to the elbows. And start to push into the elbow and lift the opposite arm up. So your head's going to come up. And then roll back down. So I'm rolling to one elbow. The other arm's going to come up, and I'm going to reach with that arm and let my head come up. And then come back down. And start to do that a little bit more. The opposite leg behind you will start to reach away. Start to put your little finger on the ground as well. So I'm reaching into this edge of my body, and then the arm that was supporting is now going to reach up and over the other arm. And my head coming up is allowing me to really use my head as a limb. And I might start to cross the body, go on the diagonal. Feel that leg behind you reaching up as well. Shake it out a moment. Come back down. When you come back down, you can release the head and then reach the other side. So it's a bit of a diagonal. But think about the spiraling that can go from your little finger to your little toe. Kind of turn that a little bit. And then coming back down by the wheel again. Place the palms facing your face. Let your hands come down and rest on your eyes. Palms down. And rest the rest of the body. Rest square. Rest the rest. And the hands on the eyes. You can close the eyes. Feel the weight of that movement resting on your skull, your eyes. What is open to the space? How's your shoulders? You have the undercurve of your skull, and where your hands are resting is an arc above. Your nose is free to breathe. Your belly is free to breathe. And open up the eyes. See the space between your hands. Let the hands move away from your eyes. Start to reach up to the ceiling and open the arms out to the side. Come back to the rocking with your spine, the space between your shoulder blades. We're going to continue down. Traveling down through the center of the ribs, lower than that, rolling into the lower back. The vertebrae get much larger here. Traveling into the sacrum, that bone that is connecting the two halves of the pelvis, the bottom of the spine. Take it into your tail. All the way down there. That's also moving the end of your digestive tract. Right? You can kind of feel the organ opening, the opposite end of your mouth. And then come up a little higher, find your hip sockets. You're going to go to two tracks now. So the tail is low, and then come up a little higher, find your top of your legs, and you're going to travel down, rocking from the top of the legs down to the knees. The knees will kind of pop up and down, spiraling down the two lower leg bones. Beautiful spiraling action into the ankles, all the way into the feet, circling the feet, and then find your hands for a moment and do like a quartet between your hands and feet, just rolling them and reaching them out, and then add the fifth partner, your face. I kind of move your hand, and start to yawn a little bit, reaching in all directions, and slowly bring that rocking into your ankles and your wrists and your neck. Bring the knees in and your elbows in, meeting them towards your center, and then hugging your knees into your chest. Lift the head, eyes up to your knees. Oh yeah! I can't get very far. That's my range today right now, because I'm doing so much this week. So then I'm just going to release my head. Squeeze the knees in a little bit more, then put the feet back on the floor. And the hands can rest on the pelvis. Come back to a little bit of rocking of your knees. It's almost like you feel a tiny shift in your feet, like you're walking, but not really. See what where's the shadow? How's your shoulder blades? And then slowing it down. Put the hands down on the floor, palms down. We're going to go into a little shaping. Lift the toes up for a moment to the ceiling. And then press the toes down. Curl your tail up. This is very specific, but we're still engaging with momentum of flow. The toes are pushing down, each 10 toes. Your tail is reaching up. That's going to flatten your lower back a little bit. And then you're going to push into your heels. And you're going to lift your pelvic points, those iliac crest off the ground. You're going to kind of hover very low. You're using your toes to tail, heels to iliac crest, the front of your pelvis. And then find the inner arch of your feet. And the energy is going to come up along the inner part of your legs. And you're going to think about lifting all your organs of your pelvis, just like a little whoop. Your sexual organs, your bladder, your intestines, it lightens up the bowl. Really, the feet to the pelvis. And then send your knees up and over your feet in the air. And you might need to walk your shoulders a little bit underneath you or walk your feet closer. This is very yogic. It's like a half bridge. And you're going to start to let your knees reach over your feet. And take your right arm over your head and put your left arm down on your side. And then switch that. It's kind of like making angels in the snow, if you ever have done that. So one arm's coming up. Know that you have space behind you. Check out your floor. I know that, we have very non-dancy floors in our lives. Or maybe they're very dancy. Just kind of get a little action. There's a circle between your arms. And then let the right arm come underneath. Pelvis is in the air. You're going to use that right hand. You're going to push yourself up and over your right shoulder. I'm going to go back a little bit. You can see me. So I'm going up and over. This is part of one of the puzzles we did yesterday. One arm is underneath, and the other arm is over my head. I'm sorry if you can't see. I'm going further. And I'm really on that right shoulder and the arm. And my right ear is down. And my pelvis is facing up. And my feet are flat on the floor. We're not going into break dance moves here. You could. And then release the arm. Arms go out to the side. Wide arms. switch that. I'm just turning around so you can see me. The left arm is down, the right arm is up. You're going to go up and over the left arm. It's this very beautiful kind of like you're poised, you're upside, you're kind of in this funny, really use your feet again for your pelvis, the arms, it's not just your shoulders. And then come back down and go to the other side, just kind of come up and over. Good. Roll back down, really the long arms one more time on the other side, up and over. And then come back to the center. Unhold your knees. Your ribs will come down. Unhold your arch of your feet. Pelvic organs. Shake them out. You can kind of release the heels. Pelvis come down. Release the toes. And rest. Feel your body here. And like we did the other day with those knee to eye, like Steve would talk about, letting go of the effort. That's a moment the body is integrating in the rest time. Parasympathetic. I think that should be the name of a band, actually, parasympathetic. And then roll over to one of your sides. Use your hand to lift your head. And come on to hands and knees for a second. Or two. So I like really address. Hello. Address the space where you were just lying down. You're down like above it. Right? Your hands are really holding your shoulder blades. Really use the heels of your hands rather than your knees. Knee pads are great. And then I don't like wearing them anymore because I got a little too risky. But really use the heels of the hands. And let the head and tail drop. Bring the belly up. And then drop the belly with the head and tail. And the form, the eastern forms to the western forms, to the north and south. Do that a couple times. You're really opening up the back. Not just holding yourself up, but transferring the earth through your bones into your back. And then you can drop the organs with it. And then lift your right arm up into the sky. You know, you can kind of come up. Extend your left leg. And I'm moving away. You can kind of have your left toes tucked. Your right arm is reaching. Feel the diagonal. Take the right arm. Slide the back of the hand towards your left foot. And you're going to put your right shoulder down, your right ear down. And hang out on your shoulder for a moment. You're really letting your head listen to the ground. And if you want to roll a little bit more, looking up at the ceiling, feel this diagonal line of support. And if you want to start to just push your foot towards your back foot, towards your shoulder, lift that back leg up, and see if you can just fall. Any direction. Just fall out. Maybe you roll along the back. Just kind of, let yourself fall. And then come back onto hands and knees for a moment. Tuck your toes and just kind of bounce your feet up a little bit. Don't lift the legs. Just think about lifting the sit bones, heels of your hands, get a little energy. Homologous movement, upper and lower body. Come back down. Lift the left arm, tuck your back toes of your right foot. I'm backing out. Really now you can kind of really feel like that push into the reach. And then from the reach, slide the left hand underneath. Bring the ear down. Go for that back toe. I don't quite get it. But I'm reaching. This is a diagonal from that left shoulder to the right foot. And you can push a little bit more. And then see if you can lift that leg and direct yourself, I don't know, across your back. Take a little left ball. Come back to hands and knees a moment. Push from your hands to your feet. So I'm trying to bring everything up around, like I'm bringing my hands to my feet and then everything comes up, and then you can come back. Sliding up and back, and come back. And then come to rest with your beating heart. Be still and rest in child pose. That really beautiful. I'm going to lift my head so I can talk. Whatever's comfortable, if you need to have more space between your knees, you're going to rest your chest on your knees. And if you need to do something else, but if you can come to here and take a moment, this is both positive and negative supporting. Positive supporting, really feeling where you're meeting the earth. Negative supporting, where you're supporting yourself in towards your own, that inner world. Right? Breathing within the form, again, is the sensation of flow. Feel, if you can, that as you're inhaling, you're filling up from the base of your spine to your skull. It's like a fluid pouring into, like from the base, you're going to fill up all the way up to the top of your head. And it might even feel like you can kind of almost move up or roll over your head, but not quite. And when you exhale, you want to empty. You're going to empty from the top of your head back to your tail. You might feel like you're really settling back on your heels. You can wag your tail a little bit at the end. And then this time, as you're doing that, if you have your arms, the elbows bent, and your hands, you're supporting your hands. As you inhale, feeling like you're filling up from the bottom, follow that into the top of your head. I'm almost going to the back of my head. And then as you exhale, your head can push and you can just reach back to your tail, come back to that. And do that a couple times. You're inhaling, you're not just pushing to go up, you're actually arching up. Over the top of your head, you're filling up the spine. And exhaling, you're going back down. Tail might pull you. Do that a couple times. You might get a little rhythm rather than it being beginning and ending. See if you can get a little rhythm. Da 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 da. Slow. Really, this is spinal warm up. And we're heading into our shoulders again. So the next time you go over the top of your head, you're really using your hands and your lower body. Slide your head to your right ear, extend your right arm behind you. So it's kind of like a little funny sleep pose. Your butt's in the air. Can you see me? So I went from the top of my head and then I just slid out to my ear. And I'm using my left hand for support. My right arm is long behind me. And then tuck your toes and look at your toes. You have weight on that arm, that right arm. And then come back down. Roll to the other side. The other ear, the left arm goes behind you. The right arm is supporting you. Tuck your toes. You're going to put a little weight. Look at your feet. Put a little more weight on that shoulder. And then bend the knees. And just sit back on your heels for a moment. Roll your shoulders. Maybe come onto hands and knees again and just do a little treading with your feet. Pushing from your hands to your feet. Maybe you want to come forward with the knee. Maybe you want to lift one leg up into the air. Go to a tripod. Maybe you want to lift one arm up. Right, start to reveal the underside of your belly to the space. You can also walk your feet to your hands to feet. Take a moment to hang over. You can come into your squat. You can come back down to the ground. So just kind of play with how are you shaping, again, like exposing, showing different sides of yourself to the space. Which means, if I go from hands and feet and I lift my arm, I might step around and show my belly. And then I have all this space underneath me. And I can flip my belly around. I might do it lower to the floor. If I get something up on my shoulder, I can kind of find different ways to support my hips. If I roll onto my squat, where is the opposite direction? Kind of keep expose it, revealing the surfaces that are under you, and then flip them over. And you're building the architecture from the ground up. So very much about, maybe there's elbows on your knees. I'm just, or you might even immobilize yourself to crawl backwards. You might come all the way to the ground, and remember any rolling and reaching the head as part of that. It's so great to come back to that one of the belly. We haven't been on the belly really, but where's the rolling of your arms? And you can, I think, take a little time to just capture, grab somebody else's image, really go into the screen and then pull something in and put it in your body and move. And then you look back at the screen and somebody's hand comes into your movement. So I'm really extending my head to I want, and I see your hand and then I'm going to pull into me. The pulling in is really like a spiralic sense. And that might lead me to some other contortion of sorts. Where am I leaning? Get some space underneath your body. Imagine, you can put my body on your back, really looking at that. And then I leave the eyeballing and continue with my own movement. A few minutes. Also unconcentrate. But those little tiny movements you get from somebody else through space, as well as how close can you get, in that weird screen, and create angles across the screens. And that's so, I was teaching this morning, it looked like two people had their heads coming out of each other's body, just based on the angle. Right, and then unisons, right? That's always interesting to look for unisons in contact improvisations. When we start to use our eyes or just come back to touch. So a little time with this. I think really the luxurious nature of today, even within any limitations, as well as the playfulness. Yeah, reaching, pulling in, getting really far away from the screen as well. So the tiny little things you can pick up. And look around, and if you have your screen off, that's okay, but we can imagine you dancing and it's a day of being generous, generously receptive, not just giving, but generously receptive. Few minutes. You can also totally leave the screen behind and find your own shaping in relationship to your environment that's right there. So the virtual to the real. And a few minutes of this more. Maybe I'll put on something to listen to. All right. Really play. We've been accumulating material. This is our fourth day. So when can you call on something? Or the memory, the back you were working with yesterday, or even that object, the very first day, we worked with moving something. Is that still in your space? And yeah, take a couple minutes. Weaving the history with the very present moment. Take it out. Wake up in the morning. See your sunrise go down. She made you cry, made you break down, shattered your illusions of love. Is it over now? Do you know now? Pick up the pieces and go. Play with the resistance you need to move, or release to the flow of the pathway that the resistance made. She made you cry, made you break down, shining on illusions of love. Is it over now? Do you know that? Pick up the pieces and go. Where did she make you cry, made you break down, shining on illusions of love. Now tell me, is it over now? Do you know that? Pick up the pieces and go. Maybe really releasing for a few moments into the fullness of the sensation of whatever tone you're currently singing in. Ah. You might slowly find a stillness, and it is an unresolved place. So try to create the stillness in a place before you figure it out. Interrupt it. And in that interruption of looking for the place you're supposed to end, read it. Where's your weight? Where's your attention? Where are your eyes, your nose, your ears? Where's the lean? And what you're going to do, and let this be very simple, is go in reverse. Reverse your action. Where were you? Kind of like go back in the pathway. Don't go mental about it. Like, wait, was this right? Trust that you're moving into whatever you had made already. So you're reversing yourself. And again, let it be very simple. The attention can be light, but just that where were you? Right? You can kind of etch it again. And go in that reverse for as long as you can. And you know, there was a singer, but maybe there's an echo of something of your own movement. And you're going to follow yourself. And yeah, like if you looked, do you remember where you looked? Do you remember where your eyes were? Stay really true and committed to that you're finding the back pathway. Doesn't mean you have to go backwards all the time. There's in the spiraling that we're doing. But see how far you can go. You may not remember everything. It's not about the choreography. Where is memory? You know, in the space? Is it in your body? Is it in your brain? The pattern. An idea creates the pattern. The sensation creates a pattern. Then we kind of fill it with substance. Form occurs. Maybe that might mean order, logic, but it might be that there's something, another dimension in that. So see how far you go. Do you need to, where did you pause? You weren't trying to remember in your movement before, but now that you're reversing, you are seeing through your movement, even a moment. And notice too, this happens sometimes that when we're reversing our movement, all of a sudden we have gone in another direction. Like you've stopped reversing and you're following something else. Notice that for yourself, and that's okay. If that happens, go with it. If you're still reversing, continue that as well. But as we're in a pattern, sometimes we deviate, we shift. We're adding a little bit of editing to our freeform. Our freeform that's also been including very specific form. And then how do we direct ourselves through sensation in time and space. We access a dimension that has no locality in time and space, but we really are somewhere. Where are you? And then pause for a moment, again, like interrupt for a second. It's not really a freeze, it's really suspending the direction. And do a series of reversals. So like go in reverse a few moments, pause that, and then reverse that. And then reverse that. And then reverse that. A series of reversals becomes a repetition. So you're really, not only are you feeling this movement, you're creating the ligaments of it in space. Right? Ligaments connect the space between the objects, between our bones. And really get, like fulfill that. So a series of reversals is a repetition. And then let it go and see where you want to go. Right? So it doesn't mean you have to go in reverse anymore or forward. But where's that series of repetitions, when you just push play, we're going into some tuning scores here. Deep, in addition to the sensorial contact. And notice where you go, right? And again, you can come into the screen, like to choose to do unison, like unison. Say that to yourself. And you pick up something somebody else is doing, and then it becomes yours when you leave into your own pattern. The wind is blowing on my papers. We're accumulating another history today. And using our history we've been devising all week, and then also your own template. I would like to add, just as a game, as you're freely following yourself, occasionally go into one of those puzzles from yesterday. Just like start to go into whatever you think. Like it's just going to come from the form, like going over. We started doing them. The arms are going around our head. Whatever you remember. And it's really interesting just to kind of put yourself in the moment of the shape of something and then let it go. Or try to fulfill it. The thing to do is to not push beyond, but to go to the edge, right? So the idea of like balancing. Especially pushing into parts of the body that are not equally distributing, right? So we're not just going into a form, but there's the overcurve, the undercurve, and we will come into a little more clarity of those puzzles. And then let it go. So the thing about those puzzles is that they are tools for leverage and memory evoking into improvising to something unexpected. Also, I'll add, because it's becoming part of this, is to suspend, interrupt yourself. We sometimes think we're improvising until we have to. But interrupt yourself and feel, where's the momentum going? Where's your weight? Where's your attention? What are you listening to? And then you can continue, or you can reverse yourself again. Reversals are so amazing because we're doing these things all the time, but we don't know until we name it. And this is a partnering. It's a form of raising your desire. What do you need? How do you want to move? Something you can also bring in as we're reclaiming our history. Remember the other day, if you were here, you asked your partner to do your desire. And can you do your desire now? Do you remember what that was? Like, kind of bring it up. Like, oh, right, there was something about missing, or there was something about balance, or adding it in, because we're accumulating this material. And you can just let it continue to take form. This is what I'm doing, or it morphs. Do interrupt yourself in a very creative way. You don't have to be the director, you know, like, do this, do that. Unless you want to. That's also fun. Okay. Jump to it. All right, I'll jump. And maybe, yeah, you're getting information from outside. Notice in a screen when you're connecting across these strange borders, aren't you? Your back to the screen, right? Doing what you're feeling from your back. Something else we did. You might even do what your partner's desire was that you were showing them, which is allowing another person's, idea to come through you, kind of like a partnering. And one more thing I'm going to add just for now, because it sometimes is really tiring to concentrate for so long, is to end yourself and just step away from where you were and look at where you were. And it could mean that you look at the screen, but it might be that you end yourself, you have a position, a place, a sensation, and you move away and you see where was that in space, what else is happening in that space. In, like the other things, the other objects that are, waiting for movement. And you can always re-enter, put yourself back into that memory, the shape is waiting, or choose something else, another direction. And you also might pause and end yourself, and without us having to now become an audience to each other, because we're not, this is all part of the process when we're witnessing, you might want to just watch the whole screen sometimes, right? You don't have to get fixated, but just maybe watch the whole screen and look at the synchronistic unknowns that are happening. Like look at the whole thing rather than one screen. Peripheral vision. And then you might start to move again. Right from where you are, you might re-enter. Again, it can be very tiring, the attention. So at times you might want to close the eyes and watch. That's like putting your back to the screen. Is to watch the screen with your eyes closed. And then do what you imagine you're seeing. We're really inventing so many new realms of perception in this time of our lives, and technology that we are, right? Much more sophisticated than the internet. And as Steve and my other teacher, Lisa Nelson, a good collaborator, longtime collaborator, it's like we're really going into a place of curiosity and desire, which aids us into further evolving. How we shape the world, our relationships, what we miss is our home. And shake it out if you need to. We're going to go about 5 more minutes with this. Anything you return to, you might forget, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I can pause, or I can interrupt, I can reverse, I can repeat a series of reversals. What was my desire? Where was I standing? Where's that role? Where did I put that puzzle? You know, kind of like that. Step out, look at where you were. And that's one of the most interesting things sometimes, is just to stop and step out. Be like, whoa, what else is moving on the screen? What is your music that you're imagining or that you are? And Carolyn just said that she's done taking photos. So if you've been worried about that, it's all done. So you can stop posing or start posing. So yeah, a few more minutes. Really amplify whatever's there, right? That's like, whoo, you can be energetically astounded. Gold Dust Woman. And maybe just one more thing, because this is really, it's really fun to do this, just if you want, is sometimes when you come to a place where you're pausing or you're interrupting yourself, read the direction of your momentum, the quality of your weight, and redirect yourself. Do something really unexpected. Go up if you were going down, go right if you're going left. Play with like really, you're poised, and you're going to totally just change the angle. Move the eyes differently. Go down, go left, go right. See what you discover that is like just waiting, maybe. And do that if it's interesting. I like to do that because it just makes me less tired of working. Like, wow. It could be the quality, like if you're going really slow, go faster. Then it really tells you what you were doing. Oh, wait, what am I doing? Oh, if I redirect myself, then I know what I was doing. Somehow, like, oh, if the world stops, what do I want to do? Just a few more minutes. Remember to breathe and to rest. And then you're going to slowly just take your time and dissolve slow motion to the ground, like blurring the effort, blurring the attention. Slow motion. If you're down on the ground, slow motion even there. Just to almost, if you reverse the slow motion, you could just refill up. But we're just going to keep going closer to the ground. The slow motion allows you to really think that you are coordinating with the earth, like you're going to catch up with this timing the earth has. So you're not just going down and then you're there. It's like you're going closer to a motion that might be a little more invisible, but you're listening to it to rest with it. So you can take the ride, be carried, and then let the action that you were creating, the motion, all those different tangents in a way. Go within with that. Within with that. And we'll take a few minutes to rest in that place of integration by letting the earth carry you and knowing we'll have another chapter, but just kind of, it's almost like the rest is a form of hydration. And you will be able to, also will take some time to drink some water, but think about the rest as hydrating. Cells breathing is a hydration. Power of the imagination as a hydration. The living process you are. Wander for a little bit as well in your mind if that's happening, like a little daydream. Even if the eyes are open, like a sense of watching the crowds go by, or if the eyes are closed, feeling the raft of the flow underneath you, floating you, or the grassy ground, tree tops waving. Or any image that might come to you of some landscape that's like a hydration and nurturance as your body is. So a few more breaths and is a great sound. It's a vertical plane, up and down, right and left. It's a place of presence, front and back. And then you can you can move peripherally or move centrally or both into the limbs, spine, and check in. Evolving enough to sitting even. And maybe we'll come together on the screen for a moment and then take a break, and then we'll see our next move. But I don't know why I say kind of all the time. Non-committable. You do that too, Johanna, right? Or right? Filler. I want to know if anyone has anything to say right now. And if you do, wave your hand, and then I'll call on you. No. To see if there's any report before we take a break, and then I want to also make a decision about what we'll do next. I have ideas. Does anybody want to speak to me? You can go like, oh yeah, Leah.
Hi. Yesterday, can you hear me?
Yes.
I know I had to leave the class early, unfortunately, but we did those 2 exercises, the sort of pretzel, what I described to my daughter as being pretzel, and I couldn't do them at all. Not at all. And I said to her it was the first time that in this Zoom experience, I really wished I was in the room with you, because I know I needed like your hands on my body to kind of help me figure it out. And I thought about that a lot last night. And today, you did these kind of incremental little positions that suggested those shapes. And that was, I don't know, it unlocked something in my body, all that incremental exploration, not going fully into those shapes, but being allowed to just incrementally explore the beginnings of those shapes, just allowed my whole body. I felt this unbelievable freedom today on the floor that literally I have never experienced before in my life as a dancer. So, thank you.
You're welcome. There's something about not completing something, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's good. Yeah, thank you. I will give more information too, maybe tomorrow, but just the little pieces of it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else have a response to that, or Johanna?
Hi. So I have definitely, I've done those puzzles, and I've done them. I haven't done them, but I've started to work on them. I love them so much because they're so confusing to me. And but I also really I always love that moment when you say season is that place of your and how rich that is for me. And I also was really playing, my body was I had to grab something to eat before I was bowling, and that wasn't working so well. And and then today, I'm moving in my bedroom, and then all of a sudden, my bed became this amazing partner, and also kind of getting in and opening up some of those places that were just really to get into. And I feel like I've been saying this a lot to people, and I'm I'm taking classes online, and it's so great because it's like changing the perception of my space. And it's changing it from like, it's not just my living space, it's like my everything space. And like, I'm like moving furniture out of the way. I just rolled up the plug. Like, it's really nice. So it's been like this very freeing moment in the sense of being in a confined space. I feel like space is just expanded. So that's been really super helpful for me. Thanks.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, it's like it speaks a little bit. I read that thing about what Steve described about the environment. Like bringing us more into our environment, and I that's really shifting a lot for me in my abode here, Adobe abode. One more, anyone? One more person want to say something? Bradley Teal.
I think I've discovered where my microphone is now. It's in the computer.
I was gonna say thank you.
The last 2 days with the puzzles, I first of all, I wanted to just say I found them hilarious. I was laughing at myself out loud many times yesterday while I was doing it. Or my ability to not do them actually was making me laugh. But the last 2 days, the format or just the what you're offering has, I've been able to focus on it and concentrate longer than I've been able to focus or concentrate on anything else in the last few weeks, I think. So my ability to kind of stay in the moment is returning. And that's one of the things that has been missing or been absent for me. And I think it's just the circuit, the constellation, my synapses, my trillion billion things are working to process so much information right now. The invitation to focus on this kind of one puzzle or task has been nice to be able to do that. But I'm also finding that I'm exhausted after spending that time focusing as well.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. It reminds me. I just started reading this book by this woman who's from India, but she lives in Scotland, so she goes back and forth between Scotland and India, and they're very, very different. And she wrote that when she's in one place, she's missing the other place. And she says that what she realizes, what she's really missing is home. Like there's something about, like, so what is that? I don't know. There's something that felt like, oh, I know what you mean. Even though I'm home, I'm missing something about me as what's inside of me is home. That's, I can really reside in. That's my habits of life with people. So I like that, like the idea of home base. So we have about a half hour, and I'm wondering how are the breakout rooms working? Is that good to do, to go in a group, like to go into a smaller world for a little while with each other? Yeah. Because I was thinking what might be interesting, and this is kind of combining some techniques that are very sacred to me, like contact and tuning scores. But there's something about being with another or two where you try to do unison as much as you can. And it might mean being really close to the screen. It might be like really far away and you're seeing your whole body. But I remember years ago when I was working on a duet with Karen Nelson, Lisa Nelson came and watched us. And she said that the best way to find your own difference is try to do something the same. So there's something about it's like really trying to morph into the same movement, which I think we do when we're doing contact as well. We're really trying to find those compatible moments. And it really makes us feel how different we are. So the score I was going to suggest, and the structure is a living process. I just read in my notes. Structure is not static, but living process. But to do that, like kind of go into some time of moving in unison. And at some point, start to tune each other, which means one of you can say pause or redirect or reverse, like maybe using just those few simple tuning scores that we did. And you might start to come up with other ideas. And I think the one thing that is good to use is just to say continue, and then you just start to play. So you go into the room, you're like, hey, hi. Or like, oh. And you're going to just immediately try to see if you can find unison. And it could be, again, like really in the screen. You could try to play with it a little bit out. And then start to say, like, okay, pause. And you all pause, and you can say continue. Reverse. Redirect. Repeat. Step out. Come back in. Exit. Enter. I think you'll find that you'll, and I think also when you give they're called tuning, when you do it, they're not commands like, again, like you're not directing, you're really trying to morph into what can you make visible and give time for each call to produce something or not. Let's try it. I mean, you're all the pioneers of this. You really are the pioneers of this world. Fair enough? Yeah. So I might, where am I? Okay, I'm going to do, hold on. I think maybe 2 or 3 people in the same room. 2 to 3. So that'll be interesting. Okay. See you, and we'll come back 20 minutes. I'll give you the signal. Yeah? Going to refill water. Oh, wait. Actually, before we do this, take 3 minutes and get some water. Sorry, I forgot that. Thank you, Jules. Take some water, get some water. Then we'll still have enough time to play. But really, thank you so much. And while you're here, hi. Jennifer Keller, I still think about the idea of the lineage. So I'm pulling in. I might try to bring in some Simone tomorrow. That might be really nice. She's in there.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm actually, someone's writing a book about her, so they've been interviewing me about my work with her. So I have there's a lot conjured up. So yeah, I think that might be good to bring her in. So, all right. Hillary Brown, nice to see you again. Harry. All right. So you know what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make the rooms, and then when you come back from water, you'll go into them. I'm creating the rooms. See that? Okay, I'm going to put, Veronica might move you. I'm moving Veronica to 5. If you have any questions, let me know. Is everyone somewhere? Lisa, I don't know where she is. Lourdes, you got it? Lisa Guido. I don't know if she's here. Let me see where she might be. All right, so there'll be 2 there. 2 there. All right. Lisa, are you here? Or you're at the beach? Like she's running away from the screen. Lisa! Okay, she ain't here. "20 minutes. Is it? Excellent. 15. is it? Oh wait, I'm done. Okay, is it okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
All right.
It's so fun.
Nice. Really fun.
Oh, good. Good. Maybe we'll return to it tomorrow.
It's so funny, KJ, because it's like some of the tuning score, right, is based off of video functions. So, like, to do it on Zoom was also, like, another, like, wah!
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's so good. Well, we have to finish, but I wanted to finish we have like 1 minute, but I want to do one thing together, which I did right when this whole virus thing happened with a woman, and it was so grounding. But if we all stand for a moment. And the idea is that we are all standing and facing the same direction. So just imagine that we're all standing and facing the same direction. And you want to imagine that we're all looking at the same horizon. So you can gaze straight ahead and imagine we're standing together, facing the same horizon, looking in the same direction. And see what you're seeing. Imagine that it's a shared view. And then imagine the horizon just disappearing. And that we're just standing here together in the same facing. Breathing, feeling the earth. There's like this open space all around us and inside. And then we can bring our hands up and slow motion, looking at the same non-horizon. Watch when your hands appear as you bring your hands together. And then release. And thank you very much for today. Thank you. Very moving to be with you all. Drink a lot of water and meet tomorrow. Yay. Thank you. Everybody. Thank you, everybody. Thank you,
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. See you. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.
Popping out.
Hey, Jay.
Yeah.
There is some possibility I'm not going to be able to make it tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
So if this is my last class, thank you so much. And if I can be here, I will be. This has been
Okay.
really wonderful.
Thank you. It's great to see you. I'm really happy, and
Great
your
to see
comments really mean a lot. So thank you.
Thank you. I hope I'll be here, but if not, thanks.
Thank you. You're welcome. Take care.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. Okay.
Let's see.
Where to go? Right?
Leaving is so hard. Finding the button. Bye.
Bye. Carolyn, are you there? Carolyn, hey, there you are. Did you get some good pictures?
You know, I mean, I did, but it didn't take their names away. So I think I'm not going to use them because I hate them.
Oh, right.
I don't know what it's that, but
You want to try again tomorrow, and maybe you can find out?
I might ask, Martita or something, and then maybe try again tomorrow if I can figure it out.
Huh. Yeah. Because it's funny because it was like, yeah, they won't, and then they are. So, oh. You have to, like, black them out, like putting tape over their eyes. Yeah. All right. Well, maybe try again tomorrow and see what happens.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks again for everything. And
Yeah.